We're going.
You know. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the November 6th Farmington School Board meeting. We called the meeting to order earlier this evening. We started off in non-public. So if everybody could please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any public participation? Anybody not seeing anything? We'll move on to minutes. We'll entertain a motion for the minutes of October 30th.
I'll move October 30th, public session, non-public sessions 1, 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Reports. We have student services first.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
So you have a report in your board folder. I should start with acknowledgements. I always want to recognize our case managers and paraeducators who are working tirelessly to support our students with who require various services throughout the district. But particularly tonight, I wanted to recognize the administrative assistants and administrators across the district. They have just been amazing since I came aboard here. Everyone's been so helpful and thoughtful and really trying to find ways to problem solve around how to support the students of the district and the community. And I just really appreciate everyone that I'm working with. They're really a gift. So you have the first section is statistics. I don't know if you have any questions about that section.
Are the, like, for Valley View, where it's special education teachers, 6 out of 7, is that we're down 1? Is
Correct.
that- okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure I was reading it correctly.
Yeah.
I'm all set. I don't know if any, or if we want to hold questions till the end, or
No, it's
however
fine.
you want to.
Go ahead if you have questions about this.
I'm all set
I'm
for
good.
right now.
Okay. So then as far as activities, over the past month, continuing to work on fiscal topics. We did get word today that our 23-24 IDEA grant was approved, so that's great news. And thanks to Mackenzie and everyone at Department of Ed for supporting us and supporting me in some new processes. We also continue to invoice for special education aid and for Medicaid. And again, thanks to the Department of Ed and thanks to my administrative assistant, Pritka, who has been right on top of all of that. In terms of staffing, right now we are working to hire a behavior interventionist for the program newly identified up at Valley View. And so we do have an ad out for that. One candidate now, and that is funded by one of the IDEA grants. One thing to consider in the future would be looking at that counselor position that we still have open and perhaps rethinking that and looking for a psychologist. I just find with the number of students that we have identified in the district, so right now 146. So if we think a third of those students-ish are going to need to be evaluated every year, and any new referrals coming in, that can be a lot in terms of referral meetings, evaluation processes, evaluation review meetings for, one psychologist. So it might be something for the district to think about, looking for another psychologist for a certain amount of time, which I can get more solid on that. But just something to kind of roll around. And I think a psychologist could be supportive to students in a way even deeper than a counselor could.
Especially where psychological testing isn't necessarily, as I'm sure you know, administered in one day. And then on top of that, it's analyzing the results and creating the report. It's time consuming.
Yes, very. Thank you. I have been out addressing outstanding topics, continuing to look at some outstanding topics with 504 and McKinney-Vento, and some outstanding special education topics. One of the things that we did recently for Department of Ed was to gather information for Indicator 14, which has to do with postgraduate outcomes for students. So they asked us to contact students that graduated in 2022 who had been identified for special education and find out, if they were employed or if they were going to school, were they making more than minimum wage? Were they working at least part-time? And a number of questions like that. So a number of us did that. We reached out to the students, and we were able to contact actually quite a few of those students and complete that before November 1st, as the Department of Ed would like. And so we got a really nice email shout out that went out to, all of the districts, and, Farmington had 8 students. So it was just really nice recognition, and thank you to Christian and Katrina and Brian who helped do that.
Can you share the feedback that you got from any of the students?
Yep,
Very
quite a few were either employed or going to school.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was really, really nice. And one of the questions that we asked was to rate the school. Would you give the school an A, B, C, D, or F? So give it a letter grade.
Sure.
And there was nobody that was below a B. So it was really, really very nice.
Very nice.
Feedback. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they reflected on, what was really helpful to them. And I think, classes that looked at college and career planning or looked at writing resumes and building life skills were some of the things that the students appreciated.
Awesome.
Yeah. Joel?
Yeah, what's the department doing with the information? The
That will.
Department of Ed?
Yeah, so some of that information will come back to us in our district determination data to let us know how we're doing preparing kids for the world.
Okay.
So that data determination rubric that I gave you last time should have a post-secondary outcomes area on it.
Is this something new that they're collecting, or it could just be me never being it pointed out? It's the first time I'm hearing. I love it, but I
Yeah.
just
It's a really
didn't know
good
it
question.
existed.
I've known that there was the Indicator 14 looking at post-secondary outcomes for some time. I didn't know what public schools did to get that information. So, this was my first year being part of that. I can tell you that, it was a bit of a trick to get to the students themselves, because you want to ask the students, not necessarily the parents.
Right.
Right? But we did reach out to the parents who gave us their children's contact information. Or emailed the parent who then emailed the student, for example. Yeah.
It's gotta be, I haven't heard of it either. So how long's it been around? This Indicator 14?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I gave you in your board folder a list of the indicators, and it's been around a while. Yeah. Long enough that it's number 14 and there's more than that.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
we just weren't doing it before.
Or maybe
Or
I mean,
reporting
just-
on it.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they
Okay.
probably had to do it,
Yeah.
but
Right.
we hadn't heard of it, so
Yeah, I
it's
see.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question, what are they doing with the information?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard it before.
Yeah, so the information goes from the state back to the federal government to let the federal government know how the state is doing according to all of those indicators, to say, whether the state's in good shape. And similarly, it drops down to the district And so that's where in our district determination rubric, we met requirements in, one subcategory, needed assistance in two, and needed intervention in a third. So states would be ranked like
Right.
that as well. I'm happy to tell you that in Nessus, as far as special education process compliance goes, we are 95% compliant with all of our paperwork. So we do have a few students outstanding on consent and IEP, not that many. We're working through those. Part of it does have to do with the late arrival of some special education teachers at the high school. But they're here and they're working hard on that. So we already talked about the LEA determination rubric. I wanted to dive into the district data dashboard a little bit more. So Brian and I had a couple of representatives from Department of Ed come out to sit down with us to look at the district determination rubric. And then they brought us our data dashboard so that we could dive in even deeper into the numbers that created the determination rubric. From that, I wanted to give you my overarching thoughts about areas that are actionable, and then areas I think that we're doing well in. And then the areas that I'm not mentioning, I would say there's not enough data to say either way. Because there's such a low number of students, or the fact that you could have, one student with specific needs really turn the tide there. We're not able to say whether that's an area of need or we're doing well. So areas that we should pay attention to are meeting with specific staff about data entry across the indicators, because I do think that might be behind why a couple of the areas weren't where they needed to be. Another thing that I noticed is that we have lower percentages of students with developmental delay and specific learning disability than other districts, and then the state average, significantly lower. So that might indicate that we're under identifying at the early years. And so we need to look at why is that, and why is that, and what we can do about that, if that makes sense. We need to continue staff development around our indicator 13, which is secondary transition. So that's looking at that area of an individual education plan and making sure that that we are defining the work the kids need to do leading up to their graduation for good post-secondary outcomes as well. And then areas that we appear to be addressing well are the preschool environment itself and child find, which has to do with evaluation timelines.
A lot of work in a month.
The 95% compliance is significant in a good way.
Great, absolutely. Are there any further questions for Colin? Anybody?
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome.
Good night. And Kathleen is going to be doing her report at the next meeting, the 20th. Yes. She emailed me, I think maybe an hour after I told Cheryl, yep, agenda, good, but it does, fine. So we will add that back on. And then,
This has to do with the next item on your agenda.
okay, yes, financials.
Thank you, Jim.
For our viewing audience at home, Mackenzie Campbell is our business administrator, and he had a family commitment tonight, so I've just provided the board with some budgetary update information. I have the summary page is included on the top, but for the folks at home, it reads that and feel free to speak to any of these if you so choose as I go along, the DOE 25 and MS 25, those are state forms that require some budgetary computation and subsequent data. That is done and has been submitted to the DOE for review. This was sent, and once it's approved, we submit forms to the Department of Revenue for tax rate setting.
And we did get a list of items, one, two, three, about half a dozen or so items to, on the DOE 25 to review and correct. So I can send those to you. They sent that to us this afternoon, so.
The next item that Mac notes is Mary's list has been updated into his budget calculations on what was actually put out to the voters and approved. All the issues that she raised have been found.
Oh,
And
Mary's
I
list.
did supply a
wasn't-
copy.
Well,
It didn't click.
it didn't. I thought it was
Yeah.
like Angie's list or like one of those like,
Like you call them up and somebody comes and helps you?
well,
Well, that's sort of what happened.
it took me, I read it like 3 times. I'm like, who's Mary's list? Sorry, everyone.
Creepers, creepers,
Yeah.
like I'm not even here.
It's Monday. I'm blonde. It's daylight savings time.
All the
It's just
excuses.
sorry, everybody. Anyways, continue.
For the viewers at home, I'm blonde as well, but I don't subscribe to that. Let's move on. The next item, Fund 10 and 22, all revenues and grant report are attached for the month of October. The next item he notes, and I think Stacy responded to this, but I'll just read it anyway. Since we're in a self-imposed timeline in order to be able to meet the deadline for the budget committee, Mac was wondering whether we should schedule an additional meeting, but the feedback, as I understand it, is since we're, as a board, meeting on such a regular basis, an interim board meeting probably isn't necessary. I don't want to
Well,
speak out of turn.
No, that is what I did say that. I just, that was just me talking.
Okay,
If we need to, then by all means. I just didn't know exactly what we were needing to review and if,
it's obviously it's at your discretion.
Right.
But in talking with Mac this afternoon, he felt like he needed another day to calculate numbers. He did say that he probably would have a clean edition of numbers by Monday of next week. But if you wanted some updating and to talk further, he'd be willing to meet with any or all of you.
okay.
Okay. Let's see. He goes on to say we're in the final stages of preparing the initial proposal. He has a few outstanding items from staff and documents to update, to make rather, before sharing that. He's open to meeting. Let's see, we have an upcoming presentation from Affinity Lighting. Mac has had a pretty positive relationship with Affinity Lighting in the past. This is part of the question of whether or not we can economically transition from fluorescent lighting to LED lighting. You're welcome to attend that meeting if you'd like. But I think it's positive for a lot of reasons, that there's economic savings involved. And for some students who are on the spectrum, a lot of us filter out the normal buzz that's associated with fluorescent lighting, but there are some aspects of the spectrum that diminish that. So some students could be struggling with how to filter out fluorescent noise. So that would be another reason for trying to go down this road. In terms of grants, there was no change. His focus this week was on the DOE and budget. The bank balance has over $2.1 million in the account, much better for cash flow. And that he's proceeding cautiously but optimistically. After the budget is done, there'll be more focus on grants. So I would defer any questions to Mac, but that's your update.
I mean, when I said that we didn't need an additional meeting, I wasn't just speaking for everybody. I was
Oh,
just-
no, I'm sorry if I implied
No,
that.
no.
I-
Because I didn't talk to anybody before I said that. So I just, if we need it, I'll
I-
defer to Mary's list.
I look at every other Monday as the additional meeting.
Right.
And I look at every other Monday as the additional meeting.
Okay,
And having said that, Monday nights seem to be a priority for administrators.
Agreed.
understood.
But we can certainly, I mean, if we want to go through these and then decide if we need something extra, I'll defer to Mary.
I'm looking at the calendar. We have a full week next week, but the following week is Thanksgiving.
Right.
And that's kind of like
That's
when they
it.
want it.
Right.
I'm,
And we don't have a budget committee meeting set at this time.
yeah, but they still are going to want it
Yes,
on the
understood.
20 or 21st. So that gives us the rest of this week and next week to review, ask questions, come up with whatever it is we need so that we can confidently present it to the
Right.
budget committee.
Um,
Now, the first time that we do it is we give them the binders. I don't think there are questions and answers at that one.
I don't think so
No.
either.
That comes up at the public hearing, which is in December. Not that they can ask,
Right, but
Question.
it's the initial.
yeah.
Ta-da.
But I'm feeling very strongly that we need that document in our hands first.
Right.
Did he talk about he could provide it?
Well, yeah, he did say,
I can share the
Electronic.
via
document
electronic to review as soon as completed
Wednesday
by
afternoon.
Wednesday. I would prefer that, then we can go through it in our, own,
If we needed to meet prior to Monday, would it be something that Mary and I could do with Mackenzie? Because we're on the budget
I don't see why
committee,
not.
and then come back on Monday, but at least we have one more meeting if we needed
Yeah,
to
oh, yeah,
this week.
I don't see why not.
Mary, you have much more experience than I.
Well, Mary has an issue this week. She's
Ah.
flying solo Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Okay,
I have to cover the office
Got
from
it.
7 to 5.
okay.
So what's the problem?
So the meeting's gonna happen at Barron Brothers, is that what I'm hearing?
And that wouldn't be pretty. That would not be pretty.
Okay,
I guess where I'm going with it is if we can leave the 13th relatively wide open
Oh, yeah,
for a major budget workshop.
okay.
You know, if there's a crisis or whatever,
What is it?
Monday.
The next Monday meeting.
Oh,
a week from
sorry.
tonight.
Yeah.
But if we have to have another meeting, I'm thinking that it would be in that week.
Me too.
Because once we get this electronically on Wednesday, we can deep dive into it ourselves, make our own questions,
That's what I'm thinking.
say, okay, that bottom line's not gonna work, but this one will. That was funny.
Yeah, because we have added dates to before for a workshop, yes. Yeah.
So in my mind, that would be it. If he can get that to us middle of this week, and we can all really work on it.
Right.
Now, I'm hoping that what we're gonna see from him is last year's budget, what was actually spent, what's being proposed. And then how much of a deviation, so that at the bottom of it, we can say, okay, last year we were 15 million in Fund 10. This year, this is what the team feels that they need to effectively run the district. And once we get that information, we can work it backwards and say, well, we've got to, we can't, yeah. A lot of it, for me, is going to depend on what the DOE 25 looks like.
Right.
So is that would be my
Okay.
thing. As long as people are available Tuesday through Friday of next week. I have nothing other than going out to lunch with my family on Thursday.
Next
Do you
week?
want an excuse for that, or?
No, this
Some
is,
people, you know,
no, this is something that we've just started doing, and I'm really loving it.
no, I can do pretty much whatever.
I'm open
So-
next week in the evening. If that, I assume we're discussing in the evening.
I mean, whatever works for most.
Yeah.
Whatever works for
Okay.
a quorum.
Okay.
Does that work for everybody?
I think so.
What?
To get the documents electronically
Oh,
this
no.
week?
I
Yeah.
thought you meant a potential date.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, realistically leaving as much of the 13th, because that would be the odd meeting. Leave
Right.
that to open discussion. Mac will be here to make sure that if something really is outstanding, we can do that, because we'll have some.
Well, can we
Well-
clear the agenda or keep
Yeah, or,
if there's
We can-
nothing real?
It's a non-regularly scheduled. I mean,
Right.
if something
Right.
pops, we can
right,
certainly address it, but at this point, I don't think, in order for us to get it to them within the time frame that they've requested, normally, we would have already seen a rough draft by now, but,
Right.
certainly under the circumstances. But if we can get that to them for their Thanksgiving break, then
absolutely.
the next important meeting after that would be
It's usually the
mid-December.
first, or, yeah, like I want to say it's,
Last year, I think it was like the 9th or 10th.
I want to say it's usually like, this year it should probably, and isn't it on a different night? Isn't it a third, or,
Well, if they don't have a November meeting, which at this point, they did the 1st and the 8th, I think we've,
We met on the 31st
okay,
and we planned on the 15th, and then now Joe has a conflict.
okay. So that takes, the only other possibility for a budget committee meeting would be the 29th.
He threw out dates.
And well, no, they've got to have it before Thanksgiving.
yeah,
We could meet another day or at 8 p.m. on the 15th. So he didn't propose a day.
8 PM on the 15th is bad. But I'll do it if we have to. Okay.
One person said no to 8 o'clock.
I would assume the dog and pony show would be December 6th or 13th.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
Because we really, I thought I might have heard Max saying something about when we do the presentation itself, that he has like department heads and people like that there, and I don't know that we really want to walk in with a dozen people
right,
hanging over. It's generally the budget, the school board to the budget committee.
right,
This is a little different year because he hasn't had the flow of knowing what these people
right,
want.
unless
but-
he was gonna bring people to, if he felt he couldn't answer.
That's what he said.
Oh, okay,
So that they could answer specific questions.
Mhm. Well, we can do that too.
all right, well, if you can just let Mac know then,
13th is budget.
If he can email us when he's got that, we'll go through it and
Okay.
then
We're meeting at 6 or 6:30 on the 13th.
6:30. Anything else on financials before moving on?
There was just one question on MAC where it's, the paragraph starts Fund 1022, all revenues can be sent to Budget Committee, or do I send them? Do I send them? I think if he's got reports for October prepared, they can certainly go
No.
to Erica
Yeah.
and Joe.
Mhm.
But as long as we just make sure he's got those two
Right.
email addresses, and then they can move forward from there.
I'll take that. I'll email Mac and tell him that.
Okay.
Anything else?
The questions on the DOE 25 are those things that were, oh, you were gonna send those
Yeah,
to
I'll
us.
send them to you.
Perfect.
New business. We had, I know we've talked about this in the past, about the student photo releases. If we could print photos in either, reports, physical reports, or social media. And I tried to go back to find the minutes of when we changed, or the motion was made to change, and of course I left the date at home. I think it was like, I want to say it was like August of 2021, maybe. All that to say, we've had a few administrators ask us what the current policy is.
Well, it's in the handbook,
In the,
in the last page of the handbook, they sign off.
right,
On that.
exactly.
So when those come back, I would think that the simplest way might be to just each building have a list of
Of-
those that our
Right,
parents are not
comfortable.
happy with that.
Right.
And
And I didn't see, like, when you go to the policies, the policy was never changed. So, well, it may have been a motion made, but the policy itself was never updated.
we had a pretty good system going there for policy changes with Cheryl. Anything that was changed,
Right,
she grabbed in the minutes and then
updated.
pulled up the
right.
original, I'm assuming, and made the changes and entered the date.
So I don't know, and that was before I was on the board. I don't know if, Mary, if you were on the board.
I was March of
And you-
21.
And I don't know, I guess, where the
You?
confusion lies.
You were just barely on the board in August of 21, because
Yeah.
Josh stepped
Right.
down.
And then I think it was like one of my first meetings was when there, and I don't know if I came in before or after, so I just didn't want to say, yes, go ahead and use students' likeness, and as long as you have the sign off from the parent, I didn't want to be going against something we have, you know.
I certainly don't remember. I mean, I could check into.
Do you recall anything?
I don't, I'm
I know.
sorry.
No, and I,
I vaguely remember the discussion, but I really would have to go back. I have all my board folders saved. I
Okay.
can go back and look at, in that time frame.
yeah, because I couldn't find it. I'm gonna guess it was right before I came on, and there might have been further discussion in those first like couple meetings that I was here, and that's why I didn't have anything to go on, and that's what the only thing I could find was the policy, but I just want to make sure that we're clear, or if we need to make a motion to change what we have or change the policy, I just want to have a clear yes or no.
Mhm.
So,
I can dig.
okay. And then,
Did you find it?
yeah,
I think she found it.
I was at a conference today and it came up that the New Hampshire School Board Association on November 15th is having a webinar. It's from 12 noon to 1:30 on district policy, self-audit and reviews.
Oh.
So I just point that if anyone might be interested
yeah,
in that. It's under the School Board Association webpage, and if you go to their training and events, you can see where that is.
it's on November 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
What kind of policy though? I did over 100
Yeah.
Oh,
in a
my.
year.
yeah, Mary was policy queen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other new business? We're easy tonight. Unfinished business, handbook. Now that I assume we've all had a chance to read and enjoy. Was the last thing that you sent, there were more, you changed it, added something?
I fixed the last thing was where the ED laws were, and I
Yep.
found
Okay.
those and
Yeah,
I
I
put
saw
the
that.
links in there.
Yep,
Okay.
those are all updated.
Um, are we comfortable in finalizing it? And,
Disperse.
yeah,
I'm comfortable with it.
alright, I'll make a motion to adopt the family and student handbook as a final read and disperse accordingly
For the 23-24.
for the 23-24 school year.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Office hours. I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and after our meeting, I received a few, email communications from, teachers indicating that they would like us to hold office hours. They thought it beneficial,
Yeah.
and as did I.
Yep.
I just didn't want to. I think our hesitation was just, we didn't want to bombard everybody and,
Absolutely.
but apparently they're, interested in continuing, so,
There was a suggestion to call it school board tea or something like
that's right,
that, just
yeah.
to sort of give it a different
Yeah.
Yeah.
tone.
I like it.
yes, and I did like
I
that.
like that. I think that was Jim. who
Bring your own
suggested that.
crumpets, or,
Bring your own snacks.
Um,
I'd like to not do Henry Wilson just because I did last time, so I'd like to try a different
Yeah.
school if I'm able to do that.
now, of course, that we're kind of entering the holidays, I feel like it's gonna get, I just want to get something on, the calendar.
Yep.
And do we want to try to do everybody all at once, if we're trying to do like a tea, or, call it something like that? I don't know if it would be beneficial to do that, or,
I think we should keep it smaller with 2. I feel like if there's 5 of us,
no, I mean,
You're talking.
like all 3 schools at the same time.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
see,
just
I
have
see.
like an
My
open
bad.
gym.
Like, right, yeah.
yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't
I-
know what is more productive,
I would
or,
almost think your first round, just to get a feel for, we have so much new staff.
Right.
So many new things going on. If you kept them, we kept them to individual buildings.
Yeah.
Then we can cross over and say, yeah, well, that's the same thing I heard
right,
over there and stuff. Then maybe, throw
Right.
it out there type thing,
Yeah,
a group
Yeah,
thing.
I think that's, yeah. I like that
I would,
idea.
I would think I would do the first round as individual buildings.
I
And do we
agree.
want to try to do them all on the same day? Does that work?
If we do that, you're gonna have 2-2-1.
Right.
Right.
Well, again, unfortunately, for the most part, I can't skip out for any length of time during the day. I do get out at 4 now.
Okay.
I changed the hour.
You got your winter hours.
Did you know somebody that you can just say?
So it sounds like we'll have to do them on different days.
Okay.
Well, you could do 2 the same day, but then there's gonna be a second day, I think.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind doing Henry Wilson just
Okay.
because I had done high school and Valley View.
Perfect.
Not that I don't
Right.
mind going back up there either, but
Yeah, I think it's good for us to,
yeah, it's just
Change.
different. Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions on days?
Do we have any staff development days coming up? Maybe you could,
That's a good question.
Well, but they'd be committed to
Right.
staff development.
but it would be after school.
Well, right.
Wednesday, December 6th is the early release.
Can I suggest
Oh,
that last week? Well, we could do one maybe toward the end of next week. But then that last week of November,
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving's over.
Yeah.
Yep.
We haven't gotten into crazy December yet.
Yeah.
Right.
and I think we need to leave the 13th through the 17th open in case we need
Yeah.
to pull another budget.
So maybe like 28, 29, 30, that will avoid their staff meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those are on Monday.
Well, 28, 29, I'm suggesting we do it not, obviously not on a school board day.
Right.
Because then you,
Understood.
so 28, 29, 30 is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay. All 3 of those days, I'm open.
I am too. So,
And I think Nicole will be too, with the exception of
Of the
maybe
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So that's
Um,
over in.
do we, you want to do 29 and 30 then? And do 2 on one day, or do we want to try to do 1 a day?
I'm indifferent to that.
Me too. Because it doesn't really,
Depending on the time, I might be able to fly in as well. I mean, the difference for me between 3 and 4 at least.
right.
I mean, I can
Anything in
do
the
all
last
3
second.
days, so if we spread them out and you needed an extra person, but we want 2, so.
Right.
I can do all 3 days as well.
Why don't we schedule, Henry Wilson Tuesday, the 28th?
Yeah.
No, oh, yeah, and then that could be either you and I or Mary and I.
Mm-hmm. And then Valley View on 29th. Just because, and high school on the 30th.
Yeah, let's do it.
And you wanted to do,
I would like to do Valley View or the high school or both.
you tell me.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to take up.
You do whatever you want to do.
All right, I'll do both.
Okay.
We're gonna do them at 3.
Yeah.
You can't do 3 though on a Tuesday, Mary, or is there
I
one day?
think that late in the season I can.
You
I
wanted,
can-
which one do you want? You want to do,
I'll do Henry Wilson with Joel on
Okay.
Tuesday, the 28th at 3. We just meet at Giselle's office.
We'll
I-
have to.
I think we did them in the library
I
there
can-
the
Yeah,
last
we did it in
time.
the library. So it means.
But I can message Giselle and just try to find out what, I mean, there could be something going on in the library. I
Right,
don't want
yeah.
us to just
Yep.
assume.
But we should also get this out there to them so
Right.
people can start
Oh, yeah.
planning
on their
on
calendar.
that.
Absolutely.
We'll put it on, we can send it out tomorrow and just, we can do a location to be determined,
Okay.
or library, and then if we need to change it, we can change it.
Okay.
And then I can do, Valley View or the high school, whatever. Oh, well, Nicole won't be able to do, oh, no.
We've
that's
got Tuesday booked.
Right. So I'll just wait to
Do
see
you want
whatever.
to throw me into one and you into one, and then with
Well, I
Jess?
can do either one.
I
If-
can too.
Right, so
But then
I'll
if
just wait.
Nicole says, well, I can do this one, that way we,
Yeah, I'll just plug myself in
Oh, okay.
to whatever one, and then we'll do
Okay.
it that way.
all right.
Okay,
Awesome.
sweet. Any other unfinished business?
I had one thing, if I may.
Yep.
So I wondered where we were with a student rep coming to our meetings from the high school level. I really would like someone, I think from Henry Wilson too, 7th, 8th.
I want to say I don't know if there's a,
There's a rule that.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't
But
know.
at least the high school. So I
Right.
I put both of them down there, but I wanted to get that ball, keep that ball in motion.
There
There's
actually
a-
is a policy
gonna say
that
there was a-
began
I want to say last.
January, either this year or last?
Yeah,
Maybe this year. Went into effect this year, I think, that we are required
right.
to have a high school rep.
Okay.
So we
So
need
let's
to,
get that ball rolling.
we need to get that out there.
How do
We
we,
can do credit. I mean, I would think we could give them,
Or maybe
Credit
if
towards-
there, I don't know,
how can
if
we
we
get,
have any students maybe doing like a civics ELO might fit in. I don't know.
I was trying to think of how we could get the word out to them. I mean,
I mean,
morning announcements.
yeah, just have them send something,
that's a great idea.
email to students saying we're looking for a board rep.
Yeah.
I'll get that out there.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Anything else for unfinished? Back to public participation. Don't all jump at once. Our next meeting is November 13th, next week. We have some manifests to sign. And I will make a motion to go into non-public session 2 under RSA 91A 32 ABC nominations and resignations.
Second.
I'll let you guys duke it out. Any
You
further
get it, you get it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night,
Aye.
everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
Good night,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.